Femi Otedola said something. He said, when we refuse to accept children the way they have been wired, we kill them subtly. For me, that's not just a business advice. That's a parenting wisdom for every home. And on the premise of that, I have decided to review this book, Making It Big by Femi Otedola, Lessons from a Life of Business. But today, I'll be reviewing it from the perspective of parenting. I'll be reviewing this book from the perspective of parenting. And my conversation today is focused on parents who want to raise wealthy children, who are responsible financially, children who will neither lack nor love money, but they will be masters of money, commanding and using money for what it really truly is to be. Because the Bible tells us that you cannot serve two masters, and he said you can't serve God and mammon. Mammon is a financial system. He said you can't serve both. But I ask this question: when does money or the financial system truly become the master of somebody? Is it when the person have enough or excess of it, or when the person has less of it? Is it when the person have excess of it, or the person lacks it? I believe that both require some level of discipline, but it is easier to discipline yourself when you have excess of money and channel it into godly ventures, like I have seen with this man. I was taken aback when I saw how much investment this man has put into generosity. I could see his investment in the National Economical Center. I could see his investment in the National Mosque. One person. And I believe he is worth studying. And I have taken my time to go through the book. And because I run a community, I had an instruction from God recently to begin to raise parents and partner with them to raise wealthy children. Children who will neither be slaves to money or lack money. And I realized that some of the things I've been doing with my own children are things I just need to begin to share with other parents so they can adopt it. So that led me into creating what I call the financial parenting community. And the video to being a part of that, the link to being a part of that community is somewhere around this video. So I'm going to take some time to review this book, and I'm going to be talking about it from the parental perspective. I titled it, How to Raise Wealthy Children, Even If You Are Currently Broke. Because it has been said that the issue of money is not taught in school, and it has to then be taught at home. But in the course of my engagement with parents, as we build our financial parenting community, when I ask parents, what is it that represents successful parenting to you? I'll hear things like academically successful children, morally upright children, children who have good values and virtues, and all of that. But when I tweak and ask, if you have a child who has all of these, academically sound, morally powerful, and doing well, but is financially broke, will you count yourself to have failed by any chance? Not one parent think that raising children who are not financially buoyant is a failure on their part. Then I believe that was why God instructed me to do this. Not because I want to make you feel like you're a failure because your children are not wealthy. No. Because I want to partner with you to seeing that it is easy if you can just be intentional to raise financially wealthy children, financially responsible children, children who will not be led by money, children who will not lack money, neither will they become slaves to money. So part of my strategy to doing that is reviewing this book. I'm sure, in fact, I already started ordering more of this book to ensure that parents in my community have them, read them, and will be extracting a lot of values. One of the very good qualities of this book is the fact that it spoke to us from an environment that we are used to. We are Nigerians. We're facing the same thing that he faced. Yes, even though some will easily wish this away by pointing to the fact that, oh, the parents were well to do. I can assure you, most wealthy parents in the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria and some other states, their children are battling with drug addiction. You know why? They have enough money so they can afford it. So the fact that somebody can afford something and end up turning it into greatness, don't wish it away. Don't wish it away. And if you read this book, you will see the grit, you will see the strategy, the energy, the spirituality that culminated in this man becoming a billionaire worth studying today. So I'm just going to be helping us extract some of those values. The first I will talk about here is the fact that at age 7, this man was already creating value for visitors that comes to see the parents. Small value as much as helping them to cut their nails in exchange for money. One will say, no, are you not exposing them too early to money? In fact, if your children can play video games and understand it, your children have the mental capacity to understand money if you can make it available to them. That is not even the major lesson. The major lesson here was that he was documenting how the income was coming. He had a paper document. He bought a physical safe, what we call piggy bank today, and was saving his money until he got to an amount and he took it over to the bank. So that lesson is worth capturing. Because if he could do it at age 7, your children can do it even before then. That's why in our financial parenting community, we open up to children from, though we've said age 10 to 17, but I think we can bring it down to even age 5 to 17. Just allow them be around the environment where these conversations are taking place. Their mind will embrace it. At that age, he was already getting to do that. And I noticed something. The fact that he was doing that, the father did not stop giving him pocket money. Because it will be discouraging if a child is beginning to engage in economic activity, then the one that you normally would give to him, you are now withdrawing it. You are discouraged. You are sending a discouragement to his psyche. I remember when I was growing up, when my daughter was old enough, she began to wash my car, and I was paying her. Yes, she saw the money, but she put it in her safe. She saw the money, she put it in her safe. After a while, I took all of it, opened an account, or paid it into her account, because I actually had the privilege of working in the bank when she was born. And part of the policy of that bank was that when a child is born, you open an account for that child, and the bank will give the first seed to that child. So she had an account from inception. That's my beautiful first daughter there with my wife. Now I have 3 of them, and I practiced that along with them. Then he said something. He said, Daddy saw my quest for business and nurtured it. If you read this book, you're going to realize that Otedola had struggles with 4 walls of academics. He had struggles with that. Some of you, your children may not be called to go through the walls of academic. That is not to say education is wrong, because truth is, he was just one of those fortunate to have education outside of the 4 walls. one of which was the one he had the privilege of getting to learn at home. Education should not be trivialized. This is not to say because a child just have any challenge, you just pull him out of school. You will struggle. You will struggle. You know. And he said something. He said, with my savings growing, I began to think big. With my savings growing, I began to think big. I've always said this. It's not very easy to tell an adult to decree, I am wealthy. I am wealthy. When the feedback from his account is saying, you are broke. You are broke. So I use that to encourage savings. Because practically, if you have as small as 200,000, 300,000, 1 million, or whatever amount, if you have that amount in the bank, and for whatever reason, you're broke, once that consciousness of being broke is coming up, your mind can figure out, oh, but I have 500,000 in the bank. That is an easier way to kill the consciousness of brokenness, the consciousness of poverty. So savings is not just for the financial value of it, even though it has a lot of financial benefits, but the fact that it can help you maintain a consciousness of wealth is enough reason why you should consider saving. It is saving. He said, I was saving when my mates would rather spend. It's part of one of the values we are beginning to see in our financial parenting community. When children are going out with their parents to the shopping mall, they will ask for a budget. And you know what that does to them? Well, you give them a budget of 5,000, of 10,000, of 2,000, depends on whatever you can afford. When they get into the supermarket, they will pick things, they will check the price, they will drop it. Because now they are beginning to do opportunity cost. Should I take this? If I take this, I will have to sacrifice this. So you're working on their psyche. Children are asking their parents now for their savings accounts. In our last class, one of the child I was able to help us remember what we taught in the previous class won a certain amount, and we told the parents, please send us his account number so we can credit him that money. We are intentional about creating the mindset of wealth. He said, as I began to, I remember I used to share this, my son, he may be shy of it now. I remember way back when we opened their wooden safe and it had about 29,000 naira inside. Few days down the line, he did something and I said, no, why are you behaving like that? That's lazy. He said, how can you say I'm lazy when I have 29,000 naira? Can a lazy person have 29,000 naira? So that's it. Money saved in the name of these children speak to their consciousness. You know. Then I realized something else. At some point, when he was beginning to save, he needed to begin to behave like a big man. He said, I asked daddy for one of his old suitcases. And the daddy gave him a suitcase. He said, because I wanted to look like a big man. I wanted to look like a big man. His father gave him a suitcase to help him represent what was already imprinted inside of him. What is it? What is that dream that your children are telling you about and you are telling them? Keep quiet. Nobody has done that in this family. Your eyes to tear. I heard this from one of my mentees and I was shocked. Thank God for him, he's doing relatively well now. He said there was a time himself and the mother were in a vehicle and they drove through a very gigantic hospital. And he told the mother, when I grow up, I want to own a big hospital like this and many other business. And the mother said, God forbid. Is it that the mother didn't want him to be great? No, the mother said, do you know the kind of attention that will cause? Do you know the kind of eyes that will be on you? Please, so don't come and draw my leg out. Nobody has achieved that level of faith in your family. The mother loved him. The mother praised for his greatness. But the mother just cannot believe that he has what it takes to be that great. Are you doing that to your children today? Out of love. But the father gave him a briefcase because he said, I wanted to look like a big man. I'm sure we'll learn it. I'm sure we'll learn it. And look at what happened. He said in 1997, I was already losing interest in finance because the first business he started was a finance business where he got, and he did it right. He went to the local government area and got a money lending license. Some of the people that we see that are doing loan sharks and all of that, some of them just dabbled into this business. But do you know that a money lending license, because I used to do money lending, a money lending license is, as at now, still will be less than 20,000 naira. As at the time I had mine, it was 10,000 naira per annum. It gives you the legitimate license to give out loan and collect interest. So he said, I was beginning to get uninterested. He said, because doing same thing all the time wasn't for me. Self-awareness. Self-awareness. He knew himself. He knew what he could relate with. He knew things that were not part of his makeup. And his parents always supported him. His parents always supported him. He said, doing same thing over and over is not for me. All right, so let's go further. Then I also saw how, that's why my advice to us now is that we must listen to our children. I've seen this from a lot of parents, including mine when I was growing up. Your parents paid for you to go through school. They paid for you to even acquire some level of education that they didn't have the privilege of acquiring. But when you come back and you are beginning to share with them and give some counsel that's higher than their reasoning, they will remind you that I gave birth to you. But you have just paid for me to go through school, to go and learn more things. So why don't I appreciate the level of wisdom that I'm bringing to bear? I hope you are not going to be that kind of a parent. You know what even happens? I just picked the fact that we should listen to our children, but look at what happened. The daughter was asked in school, what's your daddy's occupation? He said, my daddy's occupation is sleeping. Why? He was working in finance. He's been able to have staff strength that could do virtually all of the job and all of that. So he could afford to go to work by 11. He said in the morning, my wife wakes up around 6:30, thereabout. By 7, she's out. The children are out to school. I'm at home sleeping. I'll be in the office by 11. Sometimes I don't even need to go. My staff will bring all of the approvals for me at home and I approve, and I can't. Sometimes I just approve over the phone. They just know by reason of the process flow, they know all of the boxes to tick. As far as they are able to tick those boxes, they are safe. So because of his kind of job schedule, he didn't necessarily need to go to work, but the children read a different meaning to it. And that spoke to him. Is there something that God is using your children to tell you that you are not listening? That was why I picked that out. Then I also realized how well he placed high premium value on his family. And that led him into a business that practically transformed his life. He got home one day and his entire household was in darkness. And they needed diesel to power the generator, but there was none. He took his children and his family, lodged them in a hotel, and went all out looking for diesel. That's premium value for the family. And in the course of the dispatch of the diesel and all of that, you saw how messy the process is. And the Holy Spirit whispered in his ear, you can do this, you can clean up this system. Then he entered into the diesel business. In fact, at some point, he was called the king of diesel. So, but when he needed to now start, he said, I started Xenon Oil with 15 million naira, all from my savings. All from my savings. Now you can see the power of savings. The power of savings. It was when he began to implement and he needed more money to expand his business, that's when his father gave him $250,000 at an interest rate of 1%. Why will a father give a child money and still place interest? It's a strategy for teaching. Parents, one of the things you must take away from this conversation is the fact that every behavior you demonstrate before the child frames their mind. So whether you do something or you do nothing, you are constantly teaching your children. So you want to be sure that you are teaching right. You want to be sure that you are teaching right. So imagine your father gives you $250,000 and you know that you're going to pay it back with interest. What does that mean? You need to ensure that you do your business process-wise, effectively, and efficiently, so you're able to recoup that money. Because the easiest money for people to mismanage is money they get from a source that don't require them to pay back. That's why if you go and check, majority of young people that have gotten grants in this country, most of them were back to where they started from before they got the grants. That's why in my consulting and coaching for business, young business people, I tell them, don't prioritize sourcing for money. The best time to start a business is when you don't have the money. You know why? It takes you through the process of thinking. It allows you to think through before you dabble into it. I'm not going to go into business today. Then, when you need help, ask for help. My son was doing something one day. He said, Daddy, I've tried my best and the thing doesn't seem to be working. I said, you've not tried your best. He said, what do you mean? I said, I am your resource. You can't say you have tried your best when you have not talked to me. As a parent, we are part of the assets that our children have. We are resources that they can convert into results. I said, until you talk to me, you have not exhausted all your options. He needed money and he went to his father. He asked for help. I've seen young people say, oh, I want to do my own thing. I don't want anybody to say they supported me. Fine. If that's your conviction, I have no worries about it. Especially if you have family members and you are sure that when they give you, they would rather use mouth to tear you down and you choose to go that route. It's all fine, nothing against you, but we're talking about lessons from him. Then another very fundamental lesson I want to talk about here is the fact that location matters. Location, physical location matters. Physical location matters. This is not to say you must jackpot, you must relocate to big cities. Just do what you are led to do. But whatever city you are in, do your best to be among the people that make things happen in that city. It is very easy for you to become small. It is possible for you to be in humble beginning forever. So do whatever it takes to connect with the people that make things happen. Situate around them. Live around them. It is necessary. This is not a business class. In our business class, we talk in depth about this. But let's look at how this worked for him. He talked about even when having to secure diesel, secure most of these things. When he needed to even work with the bank, most of the bank headquarters were in the Victoria Island, and he was living in Ikeja. Having to go there and be among these persons was not coming too easily. Then I remember he also talked about a session of a party that he had in his house that had owners of banks in attendance. The likes of Femi Agbaje, the likes of Bukola Saraki, and all these are men that own bank. They were in a party in his house. So that proximity helped. Recently, I saw a write-up somewhere, I don't know how true it is, where the person said that, Davido said that Dangote drove him from his hospital bed to his house when he was born. Proximity to wealth. Does it surprise you when he even said 30 billion in his account and the world was screaming? That was a regular language around him. For instance, while we talk now, even if God whispers in your ear that he wants to give you $1 million, if your mind, which is, because I used to say this, that your mind is like a file cabinet. It files your experience. Even if God says he wants to give you $1 million, which today almost 500 to 600 million naira, do you have the file cabinet in your past experience to warehouse even that thought? So when a child grows up in such an environment where this kind of amount becomes a norm, the amount also becomes a regular in their life. But you say, but I'm not within that clan. Yes, you can accept these truths and allow God to take over the rest. The challenge with a lot of us is that we are not there, but we fight the fact that this is even a fact. So we rather want to justify where we are and remain small. It was in a class I had yesterday, and I was talking to my people. I said I was pretty young during the time of Archbishop Benson in Daosa when he was really pulling weight. I couldn't even call myself a believer then, but I remember when I listened to his messages about prosperity, it resonated with my spirit. And I could remember adults would be talking. They'll say, please be careful how you talk about Archbishop, but his son is here. I was not going to his church, but his message resonated with my spirit. And one of the questions I asked the adults in my environment, then I said, I know you. You are broke. We are all struggling. And this man is saying that God wants us to be rich. Is it that you don't want to be rich? Why are you fighting the fact that God wants you to be rich? So I'm not surprised God entrusting me with this responsibility at this time. He has always nudged me along this path. And my work is not to make children prioritize money. It's to make children put money where it truly belongs. See money as a tool, not an end in itself, as a means to an end, as a means that could help them become useful, important, and transformative in life. And I need you parents to see reasons why you must partner with us to help you raise these children. It's very important. Location is extremely important. Then I talked about how you must listen to your children. If he did not listen to his daughter, if he did not listen to the import from that message when his daughter told the world that his father's occupation was sleeping, and began to structure his life to demonstrate to his daughter that I go to work. But when he eventually started Xenon Oil, he had reason to be at work up to 1 a.m., 2 a.m. at night. But listening to his daughter at first helped him to begin to structure himself, and that ended up becoming an asset for what he eventually became when he was doing Xenon Oil. And the fact that he was available at some odd hours at the depot gave him some leverages. Then he said something that I want to drum before I wrap this up. He said, if Nigeria was working well, I will have no business controlling the diesel markets. If Nigeria was working well, I will have no business controlling the diesel market, and it will most likely won't be as wealthy as it is today. Why am I emphasizing this? When you see challenges in Nigeria, you rather want to complain about it. But someone take on the responsibility to contribute his own quota to solving the problem, because someone supplied him diesel and the diesel messed up his compound and he chose to do it better. You see it? I remember listening to the founders of Paystack, and they said when they got to US during the Y Combinator incubation, they realized that what they called an innovation was something that has long been dealt with in the US. They were almost getting ashamed that they were saying that they were coming to fix payment system and all of that. I said, but that's already taken care of. But those who invited them to incubate them, we are not seeing from their own environment, that we are seeing from Africa, because that was a bottleneck. That was a friction for business. Because that challenge was still available here, they incubated them and they came back and became multi-millionaires in dollars. So some of the challenges we face as a people, you must be able to see them with that entrepreneurial spirit. If Nigeria was working well, I will have no business dominating the diesel markets. If Nigeria is working well, some of the opportunities we have to provide solution and get paid in excess of value, we will have them today. And he said something here. He said, more luck. I added grace. More luck and grace comes the way of the prepared. More luck and grace comes the way of the prepared. The Bible says in Proverbs, plan your way, counting on God to direct your step. It is the responsibility of a man to prepare. The Bible said the horse is prepared for the day of battle, but victory belongs to the Lord. Will God give victory to the horse that is unprepared? He will be willing, but the unprepared horse will still have a loss. So most times, some of the things we entrust in the hands of God fails because we choose not to do our part. He said, more luck, grace comes the way of the prepared. So parents, our working with you is to help prepare you so you can prepare your children for the world ahead of them. You can't afford to go through a lot and allow your children to go through the same thing. And this is even particularly important for some of us who are wealthy financially. A lot of us unintentionally, because we try to avoid our children going through what we went through, we are inadvertently raising children that will struggle with finance because we are not intentional. Because we are not intentional. If you already have cracked the code for wealth, it is good. But do what I would call wealth transfer. This is not the transfer of cash or materials. It's the transfer of the software, the transfer of the mindset, the transfer of the relationship, the transfer of the networks that created your wealth to your children. That is part of the reason why we have the financial parenting community. If you're not yet part of us, it is important that you find a way to be a part of that. And in wrapping this up, it talks about self-belief. Self-belief. Help your children to believe in themselves. Help your children to believe in themselves. Don't be like that mother that told the son, God forbid, when the son said, I want to be great. Some of us, I say this a lot, we pray for wealth, but we prepare and play in poverty. Can you just begin to align yourself with the things you are praying for? Consider being a part of the financial parenting community. The process to being a part of that will be on the show notes. It will be extremely important that you consider being a part. It will not only transform you, it will position you to raise children that will not be slaves to money, but children that will be masters of money, not lacking or loving money, but mastering money and using it for what it ought to be used for. Shalom, and I trust that we all have what it takes to raise children that will make us proud, that will make the kingdom of God proud, that will make our nation proud. Let's work together. Love you.